Hey everyone, Kelly here, and it is my favorite time of year coming up, and that is middle grade March. I've participated in this readathon for several years now. I really love it. I love reading middle grade books in general year round, but it's just a lovely month where we can focus on middle grade and also just like chat with other people that also love reading middle grade books. So I just love participating every year. And this year I told myself I was going to control my TBR. I was going to think more sensibly. I was going to only read books that I own. Well, that did not happen in terms of creating my TBR. I started off that way. I was being very disciplined, and then I went to the library and I saw books I wanted to read, and I saw recommendations from other people, and now I have a gigantic TBR. Am I going to read all like 20 of the books that I'm going to share with you today? Of course not. I just don't have enough time to read all of those books, but these are my pile of possibilities. Things that fit the prompts, but then also like a pile of books that are just middle grade that I want to read. Now I'm just going to go through each of the prompts and talk about the possible books that I would like to read for each of them. The first prompt is a one-word title, and the book I absolutely, definitely want to read first thing, because I'm just super excited about it, is Alebrijes by Donna Barbara Higuera. And this is, I don't even know what this is about. It's a beautiful cover. I just bought this book a couple months ago, and I picked it up because I loved The Last Cuentista. It was my favorite book the year I read it. And when I saw that she had another book out, I didn't even look into it. I have no idea what this is about, but I'm excited to read it, and it'll be one I'll be picking up right away because I just loved her first novel so much. And then another one-word title that I own is Winter House by Ben Gooderson. And I think this is a middle grade mystery book. A lavish hotel, a family secret, a book of puzzles. So yeah, I don't read very many like mystery books, but it also has like a wintry feel. I live in northern Minnesota, so even though it's been a weird winter with not much snow, it's still winter. So this will give me winter vibes, and it's a one-word title. So hopefully we'll get to that one. Another one that I got from the library that was actually on my February TBR, but I just haven't been able to get to it so far, so I'm just moving it into my March TBR, and that's Fireborn by Aisling Fowler. And this was a recommendation from Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe, and just sounded like a really fun middle grade fantasy book, so I am hoping to pick that one up. The second prompt is a story involving a refugee or immigrant character, and the book that I own that I cannot find, so I'm going to just show you a picture of it, is The Night Diary. And this one, and I don't remember the author offhand, so I'll have it up here on the picture. And this one is a story about, I think it's like at the time when like Pakistan and India were kind of like separating, and a family that is trying to figure out which way to go, and I don't know exactly. It's been a while since I've read the description, but I know it involves like leaving some of their traditions behind and going one way or the other. And then the other one that I got from the library is Land of the Cranes by Aida Salazar. And I think this is about, I think it's about a family who fled to the United States from Mexico. And I think that they are being deported possibly, and are stuck kind of like at the border by ICE. And so I've heard good things about this one. It's written in verse, so it should go by pretty fast. So that one's on my TBR for refugee and immigrant stories. Then the next prompt is a debut book, so an author's first book. And the options I have for that, I own both of these, so go me. I have The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson, and this is a retelling of the Baba Yaga story. And so I've been wanting to read this for several years now, so hopefully this will be the one that I get to in March. And then the other one, this author has actually written a young adult novel, but this was their middle grade debut novel. And this is Maya and the Rising Dark by Rena Barron. It's middle grade fantasy. It looks like a lot of fun. I'm also trying to read all the books that I bought in 2023. And this is one I bought last year, so I really want to read it this year since that's one of my goals, is to read all the books that I have recently bought. Then the next prompt is to read a book with an animal on the cover. This is very easy to find in middle grade, and I picked a couple that I own to add to this. I have The War I Finally Won by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. This will also accomplish a goal I have of trying to finish up series this year, because I read the first book, I think I read the first book last year for middle grade March, and have not finished the duology, so this would finish off a series quickly by reading that book. And that takes place during World War II, so it's a historical fiction. And then I also have Layla and the Blue Fox by Karen Millwood Hargrave, and I don't know exactly what this is about. I just love these books that she creates. I believe her husband is the illustrator, so she has these books that are like heavily illustrated. I liked her last one that was like this, and so I'm excited to read this. It's beautiful. It's got the same like color palette throughout, like that blue and grays and blacks, silvers, and so that one I am excited to read. The last prompt is to read a book that you missed out on, so you can interpret that however you want. And so I picked a popular series that a lot of people have read, Nevermore: The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. I do own this book, but it is packed away in a box somewhere, so I just went and got a copy from the library. And this is a series that I was gonna wait until more of the books were out before I started it. There are 3 out now. We don't know when the 4th one will come out, but I figure I will give it a try, because who knows, maybe I won't even want to continue the series, so I might as well try this first one. Everybody like is reading it. It seems like people that read middle grade fantasy, so I might as well give it a try. Then the other book I have for this prompt is Song for a Whale by Lynn Kelly, and I feel like a lot of people read this last year for middle grade March, and a lot of my friends have read it and really liked it. It's a contemporary. It's about a girl who, I believe she is deaf, and then she makes a connection with this whale that kind of like makes sounds on a different frequency than other whales, so she feels a connection with this whale. And so I am looking forward to that one. I don't know why I'm saying that for like every book. Of course I want to read all of these books. That's why I put them on my TBR. So I'm looking forward to all of them. And then the group book is The Mona Lisa Vanishes by Nicholas Day, and this is a nonfiction. I had heard about this before from a podcast I listened to, and so I'm excited to read this. We haven't done a nonfiction as our group read. This one has a lot of illustrations in it, which I always love reading middle grade that has illustrations. So I think this will be a fun one to read together. And then I just have some books that I want to read that don't necessarily fit the prompts, but I'm going to put them on my TBR because they're middle grade. You don't have to like use the prompts only. As long as you're reading middle grade, you're participating in middle grade March. So some of these were ones that I have bought in the last year, and once again, like I said, my goal is to read all the books that I have bought recently, so I put them on this TBR. I have Hazel Bly and the Deep Blue Sea by Ashley Herring Blake. This is a contemporary book. I've read her other 2 contemporary middle grade books and love them, so I think I'm going to really enjoy this one. I think it's about a girl who has recently lost a parent and kind of like dealing with the grief from that. Then I have A Wilder Magic by Juliana Brandt, and this is a fantasy novel about this like girl who lives in this like valley, and I think that they're trying to like, the government is trying to take the land to use for like a dam, and she doesn't want to give up her home, and she has magic, so she creates this like bubble so that her and her family can live in this bubble when they like release the water for this dam or whatever, and kind of like the problems that you have being isolated living in a bubble. And then I have a book I just bought last week. I have Snow and Rose by Emily Winfield Martin, and I got this because it has illustrations. It seems like really nice, and it's like a fairy tale type story, which I love in middle grade as well. So I'm really wanting to get to that one. And then I have The Girl in White by Lindsay Curry, and this was one I was given recently as a gift, and so I am looking forward to checking that out. And plus I just didn't have any other really like middle grade horror on this list, and I like to read middle grade horror, so I thought I would throw that one on there. And then I have In Darkling Wood by Emma Carroll, and I put this on my list because I had started this in January. I read a few chapters, I was enjoying it, but I put it down because I was reading some other things, and so I want to pick this back up because I was liking the first couple chapters. And I think part of the reason I put it down was because it wasn't what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be a historical fiction, but it's taking place in current time, but it's kind of like has some fantastical elements. So now that I have like proper expectations, I'm excited to get back to this one. And those were the books that I owned that I'm adding. And then I'm adding some library books that I just went to the library yesterday and just like picked up things that looked good that I want to read. Some of them are continuing series that I have already started, so that's kind of like good for goals. I have The Piper's Promise by Leah Cypess, and this is the third in a series called Sisters Ever After. These are about like siblings of famous like characters from, you know, fairy tales, and so I think this is the Pied Piper's sister or something like that. Yeah, her brother is the Pied Piper. And this one also could fit the prompt of animal on cover because it's hard to see, but there are rats at the bottom. Then I'm assuming the Pied Piper, you know, isn't that what happens? The Pied Piper plays and rats follow him. So I have that one. I've really enjoyed that series, so I would like to continue it. And then I have the Tea Dragon Tapestry by Kay O'Neill. And this is a graphic novel series. This is the last in that series, so it would be nice to finish it off and read that one. And then I have a book that I'm picking up because I just moved to Minnesota recently, and this book won the like middle grade Minnesota Book Award last year. And so I thought that would be fun to read a book written by a Minnesotan author. And this is The Counterclockwise Heart by Brian Ferry. And plus this cover just really intrigued me. So I don't know, I'm assuming this is fantasy. Yeah, I don't know anything about what it's about, but it looks very interesting from the cover, and it won that Minnesota Book Award, so I think it'll be good. And then I just have a couple middle grade new releases I wanted to get from the library because I do like to read a few new releases in the middle grade category to kind of keep up on what is coming out. And this one I had never heard of until I did some like research on what came out in January and February. This is The Curse of Eelgrass Bog by Mary Everling, but when I saw the cover and started reading the description, it sounded really interesting. So this is following Kess, and it's saying nothing about her life is normal. She lives in a unnatural history museum. She likes to hunt for fossils and skeletons. And it says things are getting even stranger than usual when she meets the new girl in town, and they are trying to break a mysterious curse. So that sounded like a fun one. Then the other new release that I haven't gotten yet, I'm still on hold, and that is Not Quite a Ghost by Anne Ursu. I'll have the author there if I'm not saying that right. And this one, I believe, is a retelling of the Yellow Wallpaper story. And it doesn't say that like on the cover, but you can see from the cover that it is probably inspired by it. And from the description, it's definitely inspired by it. It's about this girl who is now living in this attic that has yellow wallpaper with like flowers on it. And then like she becomes ill and has to like stay in the room and, you know, spends a lot of time staring at the yellow wallpaper, and things start to like move and stuff like that. So if you've read the actual story, The Yellow Wallpaper, this is very obviously an inspiration from that story. And so this is another like middle grade horror. And I think that that'll be a really great that she's pulling from that story. Because you can get a lot of like social commentary from that story, the original, and I think it'll be interesting to translate it into middle grade social commentary. And those are all of the books that are possibilities that I will read for middle grade March. I mean, if I get to half of these, that would be great. I would love to make sure I get to some of them that I own, but I just want to enjoy myself and read when I'm in the mood to read for middle grade March, because it's just like I said, my favorite reading month of the entire year. Let me know if you're also participating in middle grade March, if there are things that you were looking forward to reading, if you are reading any of the same things as I am, and I will see you next time. Bye.